I was in my final year in the university when I began to question myself about what exactly I wanted to do with my life. I was faced with frustration, confused, so much of confusion, and I had so many questions to ask. What exactly am I going to do in the next few years, in the next 5 years, based on what I have learned in school? That led me to begin to ask some of my friends what exactly what position exactly they were in. And I discovered that a lot of my friends too were actually in that shoes. We had questions of what would we do when we were done with school. That became a very big issue to me because I'd already always envisioned to be one great scientist. At the same time, I'd always envisioned to be a great writer. But my final year, based on what I knew so far, I knew I was not prepared for the real world. That pushed me to begin to ask so many people questions, people in their final year as well, and make researches. Even though it was a terrifying year of my life, I discovered that over 90% of people I asked questions were also faced with the same problem. So I decided that if there was a problem, then can we actually look for a solution, which was what led me to begin to make my findings, begin to search online. Coincidentally, I discovered that it was not just my school problem, and it was not just an African problem. It is a problem around the world. After making so many researches for about a year, it became my passion. I wanted, I discovered that there was high unemployment rate in the world based on this same problem, and Africa specifically. A lot of youths go to university and they are still unemployed because of what they've learned. This pushed me to determine within myself to seek for a solution. What can we do to solve unemployment in Africa? It was um, eye-opening for me to realize that the world of work is actually a long way ahead of what is actually being taught in schools. I said, why don't I come up with a solution and save Africa and change the economy and solve unemployment for youth in Africa? Um, that was where I founded Think and Act. For over 1 year now, almost 2 years, we've been trying to seek for the best and perfect solution that would also be sustainable, that can be implemented for a long time, for a very long period of years. And we've been working, iterating, seeking, trying out things, failing, and working. So far, so good. So we've built our MVP finally, and at this stage, I had to travel around different universities to interview students to understand what exactly is the problem, pay attention to what a standard educational system is in countries, what a standard educational system is, and we try to begin to implement the model into what we're doing. So now we have our MVP built, which is just the first phase of what we are working on and Think and Act to be a platform where it's more about self-exposure, exposure about the real world, and we are trying to bridge the gap between the world of work and youth in Africa, where youth gets to know what is going on in the real world. Then we'll build our first product, which will be an online platform for learning. So what the platform will be is you're learning what is in the real world even while you're in school or you're not in school, provided you have access to the internet. So we know, and I know that my goal is that we have high employment rate by 2023. I've been envisioning that, and we are determined to achieve that.